All right, I will go ahead and call to order the regular city council meeting for Monday, July 22nd. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Holly, go ahead and call the roll.
Wilton, Bizzard, Bellinger,
Here.
Weiss, Rhines,
Here.
Gilroy,
Here.
Smith.
Here.
I did receive calls from 3 council members this evening. Councilman Weiss, Councilman Bizzard, and Councilman Welton. They all gave me their reasons for needing to be excused this evening, so that is why they are not present.
I make a motion to excuse Councilmen Bizzard, Weiss, and Walton.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
And now I'm looking for approval of the agenda as submitted.
Motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Now we have an opportunity for audience participation, and it looks like we're a little empty out there, so we're gonna go ahead and move right along to approval of council meeting minutes for July 8th, 2019.
I make a motion to approve council meeting minutes of July 8th, 2019 as submitted.
Second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. And Noah, we have accounts payable this evening.
I went through and reviewed all the checks and checked to make sure everything matched. And I'd like to make a motion to approve checks 71964 through 72059 and the total cost of $148,864.34.
All right,
Second.
great, thank you. Holly?
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
All right. I feel this is gonna be a fairly quick action items list. So our action items for this evening, we have a couple of we have an appointment and a couple reappointments. First item is appointment of Denise White to the Economic Development Corporation, TIFA 2A, TIFA 2B for a term to expire 6/30/21.
I make a motion to appoint Denise White to the Economic Development Corporation, TIFA 2A and TIFA 2B for a term to expire 6/30/21.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. Holly?
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
All right, next is reappointment of Don Bixler to the Downtown Development Authority for a term to expire 6/30/23.
I make a motion to reappoint Don Bixler to the Downtown Development Authority for a term to expire 6/30/23.
Thank you.
I'll support it.
Thank you. Holly?
Gilroy,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
All right, reappointment of Will Long to Downtown Development Authority for a term to expire 6/30/23.
I make a motion to reappoint Will Long to the Downtown Development Authority for a term to expire 6/30/23.
And I'll support it.
Thank you. Holly?
Smith,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy.
Yes. All right, in our packet this evening, if you turn to page 8D, page 1, it's the 2019 City Council appointments. And because with the addition of Gene Smith to council, that put us into a position of having 2 council members on planning. So in talking with Councilman Bizzard and Councilman Smith, Councilman Bizzard would be willing to move to Parks and Recreation Commission for a change for himself, with leaving Gene in that role as council member. And then we also need to fill the cemetery board seat, representative. And I know that, Dan, you're with the township, but you have familiarity with the cemetery. I did reach out to Holly, and I think she had a conversation with Attorney Perrone. So are we able to possibly do?
No, I asked if you wanted me to
Pursue that. Could he, or is it a conflict of interest? Because that's a tough one, but he has familiarity.
You're employed with the township?
I'm employed and probably 50% of my workload is at the cemetery.
But he has such good knowledge of the cemetery. So would he have to recuse himself if the cemetery board met
Well,
from voting,
I
or?
guess it depends on what the cemetery board actually does.
Or have any of you
Well,
sat on
I
cemetery
know,
board?
I'm not.
You've not?
With regard to the
They only-
employment of township employees.
Yeah,
Do they have any supervisory authority over township employees who work at the cemetery?
Not that I am aware of. They basically decide things that are added, new features to add to the cemetery, cemetery expansion, things like that. But I'll be honest,
Mhm.
I'm not comfortable
Okay.
sitting,
okay.
wearing the dual hats of being
It
employee
may not be an
and.
incompatibility, but.
Right. Right. Well then,
appearance.
we'll go ahead and we'll circle back around and let us know, would you like to be on the cemetery board committee?
Are you still gonna keep me as the backup plan?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I don't mind getting on the cemetery, or.
I'm
or
the
not,
only-
I don't have time. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean.
I know that we don't have a
What's
couple
the-
other members here,
what's
but
the- do they meet like once a year?
once a year, I
They meet,
think.
that they, according to their chart, they're supposed to meet quarterly. They don't always meet quarterly, but I know they're putting forth an effort to meet quarterly more frequently.
I don't have a problem.
Okay, if you don't like it, let me know.
Okay, I'll volunteer to. be on the
Okay.
cemetery.
Alright, so we'll put no on there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and recap that then. Councilman Bizzard will be taking the representative role for Parks and Recreation, Councilman Smith will be taking the representative role for Planning Commission, and Councilman Bellinger will be taking the representative role for Cemetery Board.
Okay.
So if you wanted to just move that along as a motion, that's
And
fantastic.
then the fire ad hoc committee is still in session? So
Yes, it
we'll go for
is.
that a little bit,
Yep.
okay.
Yep, until they come back and say that they don't feel that there's a need for it to continue.
Okay.
And I think they're moving along, and Chief Yance has provided some good information, and
Does
so,
one of the other townships just approve the?
Right,
yeah.
saw that in minutes. Their schedule, I think our last meeting was in May or June, and they wanted to take the summer to develop
Yep.
the program.
Okay.
And so Chief Yance was gonna work with Franz Wilbrink, who's the NISA chair, and the NISA board to develop that, and we were told that probably August
Okay.
would be when we would have that, so.
Alright, great.
So Holly, if you could just let me know when the board meets.
I usually just pass your information to the township, so they will have to.
They'll contact it.
We don't really. get
Because we go out there
notification.
quite a lot with the Boy Scouts to the flags, take down flags.
Alright, so, with that recap that I just gave, is there someone that would like to move that motion forward?
Can you do all three at once?
Mm-hmm, yes,
Okay. Make a motion
motion.
to move Councilman Bizzard to the Parks and Rec Commission, including adding myself to the Planning Commission as a representative, and Councilman Bellinger to the Cemetery Board vacancy.
Great, thank you.
Second.
Alright, Holly?
Smith,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy.
Yes. All right, next we have an application and permit for use of the American Legion band shell by the Williamston Free Methodist Church. I do have a couple of concerns. Number one, on their application, on the front page, they indicate the facility to be reserved. They do have it checked both band, shell, and concession stand. However, over on the fee schedule, on the second page, circle the time you're requesting, they only circled the fee schedule for concession stand. They're asking for this to be waived, and I think, do we have to send it back and ask them to correct the application because they did not include the circling of the band shell at the top?
The person that did it was out of state,
Okay.
and Barb did call and confirm that that's when they did want the band shell as well.
Okay, so it is for the band shell and for the concession stand for a total of $180 that they're asking to be waived.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, if there's a motion and then possibly
Well,
discussion.
we've done this for other organizations, so.
Mm-hmm. It is for August 24th.
Okay.
It's a tailgate event or a community bring it together event.
WFMC Summer Tailgate.
Yep.
I make a motion to waive fees for Williamston Free Methodist Church for the band shell and concession stand on August 24th, 2019.
Second.
All right, is there anyone that would like to discuss? Because I do have a couple comments, so, before I call for a vote. I had conversation with Corey, and I did have him do a little bit of digging. Because these are facilities that occasionally require maintenance, upkeep, there's costs associated with that. And I know that in the past, we've had quite a few applications that come in. So I asked what we've actually gathered in revenue over the past 3 years. And over the past 3 years, we've gathered $200.
That doesn't cover the trash bags.
It doesn't cover really anything, and so,
Sorry.
that's all right. I am asking for this to be reviewed as far as fee structure and what we want to do moving forward. That will be brought in a future council meeting, so we'll have other discussion on it. So I just want that to be under your caps, thinking about it when we come together again, that we're not meeting our obligation for facilities costs when it comes to that type of thing. So, that's my 2 cents.
I see both sides of this, and I know we as a community, as a tax base, we deal with Williamston city taxes, and the users of the park are not 100% in the city. So it's not all funded through tax dollars, but at the same time, a lot of these groups do have people that live in the city, and they do contribute through that. And the reason why I'm always in favor of these nonprofits using them for free is because a lot of them are already paying for the use of the park because of that.
Any other thoughts, comments, anybody wants to share?
I think it's a good opportunity to review it.
Okay.
And bring it up to the other council members
Yep.
that
Yep.
have participated, so.
Yep, I do too. And I'm gonna be sharing some thoughts with Corey and Holly, sidebar, after the meeting. So at this time, I'll ask Holly for a roll call.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes,
Smith,
Yes.
thank you. All right. Now we have second reading of Downtown Development Authority Plan Amendment Ordinance. And it looks like Corey has given us in front of our seats this evening. Corey, you wanna go ahead and just share with us real quick?
Yeah, thank you. So on the table is a slightly modified version of this ordinance. The one in your packet, the one that you saw at the last meeting and what I've been prepping you for the last 2 months, is that we've considered doing this on an emergency basis. In order to do that, at least 5 council members have to vote yes. And so when we got news this afternoon that we only had 4, we amended section 3 of the ordinance to state that the ordinance would take effect after 15 days from publication, which is our standard language. That will be okay for the project. And so we would just ask that you adopt the version that's on the table.
Okay, thank you very much for acting very quickly when I called it about 3:30 today. All right.
I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance to confirm City of Williamston Downtown Development Authority's 9th Amendment Development Plan and Tax Increment Financing Plan Amendment as presented tonight.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Holly?
Bellinger,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
All right, looks like we have a bridge inspection contract, which is item G. And Scott, do you want to add anything to this? I know that we've talked about these bridges in past years, and I do have a question for you regarding that Wallace Street Bridge.
Okay, we are obligated to do this every 2 years.
Yep.
We are required by MDOT to perform the bridge inspections and then report through their database and so forth. We have been using various consultants in the past. Susan Tebby is the one who's been working with us the last few years. She also attended a review that we had just recently with MDOT, and our files were found to be exemplary.
Excellent.
Which was a major improvement over the previous time that we had been reviewed. So Susan has moved to a new company called Manick and Smith. So I see that it's probably in our best interest to stay with personnel and follow the personnel that's familiar with our current situation, also familiar with the Wallace Street Bridge issue, and has been talking with me about that and how to resolve that issue.
And just to recap for a couple new council members, the Wallace Street Bridge isn't in wonderful condition, correct? I mean, it's showing its age, I guess I would say.
Part of the issue is that there are not a set of plans that exist for it. So it's unknown what the foundation is underneath the bridge, which because of that unknown situation, starts requiring other things to happen.
Right. And when they come in and do this inspection, there's no other way to get to that residential property except for the Wall Street Bridge, am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So, and this resident is aware of that, if something were to happen where they were to say, can't use the bridge anymore. Right? I mean, is the resident aware that there could be that possibility?
I believe the resident's aware of that.
Okay.
You know, the bridge floods over top of it annually, which makes requirements that we're supposed to close the road and all that stuff, but it's their only access to the outside world.
Correct, correct, okay, all right, so I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So I just wanna make sure that we do right by the resident, but also, you know, if that bridge, you know, if they find something wrong with it, that we gotta figure something else out, I don't know
Well,
what
what
to do.
happens is, and this has already occurred, the bridge gets a lower rating,
Right,
okay, for how much tonnage can go across it.
right, okay,
And so it's basically, you know, cars can go across, pickup trucks can go across.
But that's it.
We don't send large trucks, but there's really no reason to. There's only one house in the township that's served by this bridge.
right, and it's a township house, it's not a city of Williamston resident, it's a township resident, so that even makes it a little bit more unique, I think, too, a little bit. Okay, all right, so with that being said, would somebody like to move this action forward?
This is just a one-year contract for the 34.
This is a one-time contract to do the bridge inspections they have to be done before the end of September.
Well, that's fine, but I just didn't know if it was, you know, one day, you know, for the year, this coming year, or how we do that.
This will fulfill our requirements for a 2-year time period.
Yeah.
But they come in and do it all at once, and then there's some work in the office and some follow-up on
I'm
the
gonna give it a report and you're done.
Yes.
Yep.
I make a motion authorizing Manick and Smith Group, Manick and Smith Group July 1, 2019 proposal for professional engineering services for the 2019 biannual bridge inspections in the amount of $3,400.
And I'll support it.
Thank you. Holly?
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
All right, and now moving on to a fun little action item. It's the Little Free Library donation at McCormick Park. Yes, Corey?
All right, so just briefly, this is a follow-up item from our Parks and Recreation Commission. We have a resident that would like to donate a little free library for the park. They had initially contacted Earl Wolf, who's our Parks and Rec Commission chairperson. So Earl presented some details about the structure. For those that may not know, a little free library, it's a small structure, usually in some kind of public space that people can put books in as a donation. And it's kind of like leave a book, take a book is the mantra. We do have one that we're aware of in town on Grand River on the west side,
Yeah.
on the north side of the road. So this would be placed in McCormick Park, somewhere near the playground equipment. That would be something that we would work with the donor on as far as the specific location. So the question came up at Parks and Rec, whether or not council had to approve, and so we did look in our donation guidelines. We're gonna consider this a special project, and so it must meet the approval of the Parks Commission as well as City Council. So there's a requested action to approve the acceptance and just condition it that the location will be determined by working with staff.
All right, sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Scott, do you have any concerns about this at all, or?
I presume they're probably gonna locate it closer to an area that's already mulched and we won't have as much to worry about maintenance-wise and things like that, so. No.
I live right around the corner from the one on Grand River. I've never seen any type of vandalism. It's always got books in it. I've seen people stop on their walks. There's one, in the township, down on, Williamston Road. And again, you know, driving back and forth. And where?
Oak Road.
Okay. Yeah, so I think they're great for the community, and I think it's wonderful somebody wants to donate it.
We also have a Boy Scout and Eagle project that do several of these in another community.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Great thing.
Yeah, I do. All right.
I make a motion that we approve the acceptance of a little free library structure from McCormick Park, and that the donor work with city staff on the specific location.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Holly?
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
All right. Last action item for the evening is the city internet and phone service. Rachel?
Hi,
Hi.
been a while.
Yeah, it has. Glad you're here.
So, back in the fall, Steve at the wastewater treatment plant approached me with, having a lot of issues with their internet reliability and connectivity. It kind of sparked him to reach out to WOW. We've had several meetings with them. We found out that we have a auto renewal contract with our current provider, which is Voyant, formerly Zayo. And so we had just missed that renewal. And so we kind of really spent a lot of time needling down what the real needs were. We were able to have a small cost savings, and I think it's gonna be a lot bigger cost savings by the time you look at, we have one provider for all of the facilities for internet and phones versus, well, we have Frontier here and WOW there and Voyant there, and it's just kind of a lot of administrative work kind of that goes into that. So, we are recommending approval for all of those locations tonight.
All right, great. Well, it's nice to consolidate. It is a small cost savings, but it'll probably be a bigger cost savings, like you said, internally with staff time, not having to chase down stuff, so I appreciate that.
I guess I do have one question, because in reading the staff memo, I know part of what's driving this is the issues with upkeep and losing internet and not getting the response time that we want out of Voyant. Have we discussed, have we talked with anyone that has the WOW business plan, how good of a response time they have? I know we have WOW at our house, and they're very good with everything except with when something breaks on the residential side. And I actually just had issues with them like a month ago, trying to get somebody to come out in a timely manner. But that's the residential side, it's not the business plan.
Right.
So we
Good question.
We have some internet, some of the facilities have WOW internet, and we don't really have a lot of issues with that. Scott has the water treatment plant is actually down currently, and he's been, talking with WOW today, and they're coming out tomorrow to replace the modem. So, one of the things we were really impressed with was that by going this route, we would have a service level agreement, which makes us a top priority for their business side. And so that'll just elevate our status even more with them,
Okay.
so.
That's
So
good to know.
in that conversation, they have a special number for customer service for business and that type of thing. We fall into that area. And in there, when they got back on the phone with me after checking some stuff, they were very adamant that this is critical city, infrastructure, and she was trying to even find somebody yet today if she could, but she couldn't. so
Okay.
unless it was an absolute emergency, but.
All right. Will you, before I ask for the motion, will you just, if this passes and goes forward, will you just keep track of any type of downtime outages and what that response is, and let us know?
Sure.
In comparison to Voyant, and then that way we know that we made a good choice.
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
Typically in an SLA, they are to provide you a report with downtimes, response times, and everything, so.
Okay.
We use those for our call centers and stuff, because we have to have, you have to be 90% of this and backups, and so request a report
Okay,
from.
thank you.
It's a good
Thank you,
idea.
Noah.
It's a good thing.
All right, well, with that being said, I'm gonna ask for this to be moved forward.
I make a motion to approve the WOW business service orders for the following city locations: 1657 Lynn Road, 781 Progress Court, 175 East Grand River Avenue, 524 Sunset Street, and 3649 Zimmer Road to the extent permitted by law.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, thank you. Holly?
Gilroy,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Weiss, Rhines. Sorry.
All right. Well, that takes care of our action items for this evening. We did not have any discussion items added to our agenda. We've not received any correspondence. So we'll just move right ahead to the city manager report.
And nothing further.
All right, great. Did anybody have any questions for Corey based off of the report he shared with us? Okay, all right. We've got Officer Rutherford back there filling in for Chief. Is there anything you'd like to add or share?
I got nothing.
What about National Night Out? It's coming, right?
National Night Out. I gotta check my emails. I gotta get up
on
and
night shift, it's not as fun.
my brain doesn't work
The
during
first
the day.
Tuesday of August.
Okay.
So there you go. All
Yeah.
right, well, thanks. Thanks for being, put on the spot. And thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, Rachel, want to give us any update on anything?
I will tell you that August is our first monthly bill. I'm sure you all got the packet of information that we sent out, and you read every single line.
I have my water payment in here that's due in 2 days, so.
Thank you.
I got mine here.
That we have gotten an enormous response from that mailing. It was it took a lot of time, and it was costly, but I think it was very worth it. I think Corey probably has the specific numbers on, we've gotten so many more ACH payments where we pull it out of their
Yep.
checking automatically.
Mhm.
We love that in this office because we upload a file. We don't have to touch a payment. It just comes to our bank account. So that's probably the most cost-effective way for us to have someone pay their bill.
Mhm.
And we've more than doubled that number
Awesome.
just from sending that mailing out. Emails, we have more than doubled the number of emails that we are gonna be sending out instead of sending the postcards out. So that's a cost savings as well. We're really excited about that. And worked with BS&A to change the bill that gets emailed so that it's not, it's a little more self-explanatory. It's full sheet so people can actually kind of see what the breakdown is better than the email that we are sending out now.
Mhm.
So that'll be an improvement for those who already have it. So we're really excited about monthly billing and the responses that we've gotten so far. So we thank you for your support on that.
Mhm.
And
How many positive versus negatives did you get?
we haven't gotten a lot of negatives. We've gotten a few because
Just the
everybody
price,
has
just
their
the increase.
opinion, sure.
Yeah.
But the positive responses we've gotten back have outnumbered that by far. So we're really excited about
Good.
seeing how it goes next month.
Well, come back and tell us.
We will.
And I bet you those numbers are gonna grow. This was the launch of it, so I bet you before the end of this year, you're gonna see those increase. And so that's good, yeah. Excellent, good work, you guys, I really appreciate that. We did receive AGS report at the back of the packet, and if you had a chance to take a look at that, there's some work going on. Few little residential projects, a couple commercial projects, so that's always nice to see that that's happening here in town. Anybody have a subcommittee report they wanna share?
We had both ZBA and Parks and Rec since we last met. ZBA had 3 different things on the agenda for, we had 2 signs and a deck. One was the Old Nation's new sign painted on their building, and I think everyone was quite happy with the conclusion of that. The other one was the Red Door Apartments over near Wallace and Lloyd. I think there was a good conclusion with that, as well as the deck. Parks and Rec went very well. We discussed the Little Free Library. There was also a discussion of, I guess, skateboarding in the band shell. They're trying to figure out ways to keep the park still inviting to kids, but they're also, they're not damaging the band shell, but they are leaving visible marks. And they're finding ways to discourage that, but still keeping the park inviting.
So are they trying to ride the skateboards off the balcony or off the?
No, they installed that security door at the rear of the band shell, and the kids are bouncing either their skateboards or rollerblades off of that, and it's not really denting or anything. It looks like it's leaving scuff marks on the door.
Probably because of the poly wheels and stuff on it.
And that's a concern, because they, you know, the city put in half the money,
Yes.
and the Williamston Area Beautification Fund put in half the
Yeah.
money. But there was some discussion of, well, why don't we build a skate park for the kids? And I put in, you know, when I was in high school, we actually, a guy in my class got permission to turn what is now been torn down, but was the old outdoor pool into a skate park if he could get it funded. And that was nearly 20 years ago, and it couldn't get funded. And then there was a lot of, you know, different discussions of insurance and different things like that, and so trying to figure that out.
What is the little concrete path going in over to?
Oh, that's for little children that have big wheels and bikes, little tykes. Because, thank you for leading into that, Jean, the groundbreaking for Volunteers Park will be this Wednesday, the 24th at 10 a.m. So if anybody was curious as to what that little concrete path was, big wheels are coming,
Right, and then the place markers are.
I like to think that it's a big wheel path. Okay. Because that's what I've been telling a lot.
Accessibility.
Bring your own wheels.
Bring your own wheels, big wheels.
Like at Lake Lansing, they have a
Yes,
big
they have a big wheel
over
park over there, so maybe we're not as cool. Anybody else want to share anything? That'll just lead me right into council member comments. Noah? None?
I'm healthy.
Okay, good.
Back of the tracks.
Good.
It's good.
Jean? Dan?
I made this comment at ZBA, I'm gonna repeat it here again. And I've discussed this with Corey. I also discussed it with the ZBA representative from Planning Commission. I get more feedback from business owners in town negatively on our sign ordinance than anything else. And the vast majority of things that we've dealt with in one area on ZBA since I've been there has been signs.
Signage, yeah.
I think it would be beneficial if obviously we need a sign ordinance, but looking into it and seeing if there is keeping the signs within reason, but somehow relaxing some of the constraints to make it easier for our business owners to put in new signage.
Jean, Peter Schall is the planning commission rep that sits on ZBA, so maybe, because now you're planning commission rep, yeah. Schall.
Doesn't mean they have to leave?
No,
Oh, ZBA, yes, he does.
yeah,
He does.
yeah, yes, so I'm gonna have to figure that out at next planning commission. We'll ask for a new ZBA rep. I have no comments, because I just made my one about the park. so I think we're done, so I will go ahead and call to adjourn this at 7:34.